Salute. We're going to continue today talking about Calvinism, the life from hell, and what Romans 8:28 and Ephesians 1 really mean. And Romans 8:28, I kind of covered it, not kind of, but I covered it yesterday pretty much, that you got to read scripture in the context of which it is written in, because these books like Romans, Ephesians, and others are not meant to be broken up in chapters. They are a letter, right? It's just broken up in chapters because it's easier for us to say, hey, go here, right? So the chapters and the verse breakdowns are needed, but it wasn't written like that originally. So you have to read it like you're reading a letter, right? Because Romans 8:28 is part of the greater context of Romans 9 through 11. And as I mentioned before, Romans 8 about predestination and the calling of God, justification, predestination, it has to do with Israel. This is what people don't want to believe, because it changes everything and what they've learned about Christianity from their life. And we know that having to change something that's so near and dear to our heart can be very unsettling. So, it looks like Romans 8 I might have covered pretty much. And this is not meant to be a Romans 9 through 11 thing, but like if you look at Romans 9, where Paul quotes Isaiah, let's see, that when he says he might make known the riches of his glory upon vessels of mercy, which he afore prepared unto glory, even us, whom he also called, not from the Jews only, but also from the Gentiles. Well, people say, see, it's not just Israel, but wrong. The Gentiles just means nations. The Gentiles preached to in the New Testament are the northern tribes of Israel. Then Paul quotes Isaiah just to prove that. I will call that my people, which was not my people. Now, who's that about? Is that about non-Israelite Gentiles? Is that about Polynesians, Africans, and Chinese and all? No, it's about the ones that were not his people are the ones that were divorced from him. He's quoting Hosea. It's about the children of Israel. I will call that my people, which was not my people, and her beloved that was not my beloved. This is Hosea 1:11 about that verse. And it shall be that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there shall they be called sons of the living God. Again, I quote the book of Hosea chapter 1. It's about the house of Israel, the northern house of Israel, right? They were not Jehovah's people. He divorced them, right? 722 AD, I believe. And in the same place where they were divorced and dispersed would be the same place. In the same place they were told, you're not my people, where they were dispersed to other nations, is the same place they'd be found and said, now you are the sons of the living God. Okay, so and he says, and as Isaiah crieth concerning Israel, if the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, it is the remnant that shall be saved, for the Lord will execute his word upon the earth, finishing it and cutting it short. And as Isaiah has said before, except the Lord, the Sabbath, had left us a seed, we had become as Sodom and had been made like unto Gomorrah. And he's talking about Israel. That's all about, those are prophecies about Israel, about the Judah, southern, and Ephraim, northern. What should we say then? That the Gentiles who follow not after righteousness attained unto righteousness? Because by this time, these these northern Israelite Gentiles were not seeking after righteousness. They were in idolatry, right? Serving idols. Okay? That they follow, what shall I say then? The Gentiles who follow not after righteousness attain to the righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith. But Israel following after a law of righteousness did not arrive at the law. He's talking about Judah, right? He says Israel because Judah is Israel, so you can say that, right? So that's the Gentiles that are being talked about in Romans 9 that Paul says, and he quotes Hosea, proving that these Gentiles are the northern tribes of Israel, right? But it goes back into Romans 8, and it goes back to what Paul says about predestination in Romans 8. Because Romans 8 is part of Romans, which has verses 9 through 11, which is about the 12 tribes and the reuniting of them and the saving of them in Romans 11:25, which was fulfilled at AD 70, Hebrews 8 and 8. The new covenant was made with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. All Israel was saved. You got Christians that actually think this is future. Come on now. But in Romans 8, Paul says, and we know that to them that love God, all things work together for good, even to them that are called according to his purpose. For whom he foreknew. Who was the one he foreknew, according to Peter in 1 Peter chapter 1? Galatia, Pontus, Bithynia, who he says, in Asia, who he says are the dispersion. Who's the dispersion? It's only Israelites. Only Israelites were dispersed. Jehovah God did not have a covenant with non-Israelite Gentiles in the Old Covenant. So the only ones dispersed were only ones who he had a covenant with, that were scattered through what? Divorce. Through them going to other nations in captivity. Paul says these ones are of the dispersion. Foreknew. He only foreknew Israel. He only had a covenant with them. He only gave his Torah to Israelites. Psalm 147. Not with any other nation. Only Israel was his treasured possession. No other nation. Jehovah was very tribal in the Old Covenant. Still is. Okay. For whom he foreknew, he also foreordained to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren, kinsmen of the flesh. And whom he foreordained, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. Whom he justified, them he also glorified. So, what shall we say then to these things? If God is for us, who is against us? He that spared not his own Son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not also with him freely give us all things? Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? It is Israel that is called the elect of God. Read that book of Isaiah, chapter 44, 45. Israel is God's elect. You see how beautiful the scriptures harmonize? And it easily refutes things like Calvinism that do serious violence to the scriptures, right? It creates a pride in people that have no business having this pride. Okay. Look at Isaiah 45. This saith Jehovah to his anointed. To Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings, to open the doors before him, and the gates shall not be shut. And I will go before thee and make the rough places smooth, and I will break in pieces the doors of brass, and cut in asunder the bars of iron. And I will give thee the treasure of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that it is I, Jehovah, who call thee by thy name, even the God of Israel. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my chosen. They're the chosen, they're the elect. I have called thee by thy name, I have surnamed thee, though thou hast known me, not known me. I am Jehovah, and there is none. Besides me, there is no God. I will gird thee, though thou hast not known me. So he calls Israel his chosen. Israel is his elect one. That's what chosen means, his elect. Right? This is all over the book of Isaiah, this concept. Peter describes Israel, the dispersed, the northern tribes, as Jehovah's elect, foreordained. And that's who Paul's addressing in Romans 8. It's proven by Romans 9 through 11. All Israel will be saved, Judah and Ephraim. So, if you go into a lot of the quotes about the Gentiles in the New Testament, you go back to the Old Testament, those are describing northern Israelites, the children of the house of Israel, which is the northern tribes, the northern kingdom. It's not talking about non-Israelite Gentiles. And that right there shows you that this predestination and election has nothing to do with the madness of Calvinism, that God just arbitrarily decrees individuals to go to hellfire for eternity or to be saved and orchestrates sin and all that stuff. No, this is all about prophecy. That's all it's about. Salute from the kingdom of the Son of God in Jesus Christ. Hail Christ.